Tonight on The Buzz, we are looking at the intersection of technology with education. We start with Brian Gaffney, the Hollywood section manager for SMPTE. SMPTE does more than set industry standards. It's also deeply involved in training and educating engineers and students about the latest in media technology. Tonight, Brian discusses their education efforts. Next, Patrick Dent, the Assistant Dean of the Iovine Young Academy at USC, talks about how they are using technology to prepare USC students for the real world. Next, getting students excited about technology starts at a young age. Tonight, we talk with Dr. Holly Ludgate, Director of Learning at Full Sail University, who's responsible for courses and programs aimed at students from 7 to 17 years. Plus, we have a special interview with Bedient, Head of Strategic Development for Professional Audio and Video for Adobe. Earlier this month, they opened a new office specifically for filmmakers in Santa Monica, California. Tonight, we learn why. All this, plus James DeRuvo with our weekly DoddleNEWS update. The buzz starts now.
Since the dawn of digital filmmaking,
authoritative.
One show serves a worldwide network of media professionals.
Current.
uniting industry experts,
Production.
filmmakers,
Post-production.
and content creators around the planet.
Distribution.
From the media capital of the world in Los Angeles, California, the Digital Production Buzz goes live now.
Welcome to the Digital Production Buzz, the world's longest-running podcast for the creative content industry, covering media production, post-production, and marketing around the world. Hi, my name is Larry Jordan. I've been involved in technology and education in some form all my life. So tonight, we look at where they meet. There are many sides to this discussion. For example, teaching how to use technology and using technology to teach. We'll look at both of these tonight. On an unrelated subject, Adobe recently invited me to attend the grand opening of a new office for filmmakers in Santa Monica. These new offices have spaces for developers, industry liaison, and support reps, along with a state-of-the-art editing suite to allow Adobe and invited filmmakers to discuss issues and what Adobe needs to do to meet them. While not open to the public, it is part of Adobe's increasing outreach to the industry. This interview with Adobe will immediately follow the DoddleNEWS update, which means that now it's time for our DoddleNEWS update with James DeRuvo. Hello, James.
Welcome home, Larry.
It's good after a bit of traveling to get back into the office and get back to work, and part of that is talking to you, and it's good to hear your voice. So what have we got for news this week?
It's the beginning of the end. And no, I'm not talking about MoviePass. I'm talking about Arri. Arri has decided to embrace the vertical video trend with a brand new camera adapter. This new adapter plate enables portrait mode for the Alexa Mini cinema camera. It rotates 90 degrees and has a set of 4 identical adapters to screw into the Map 1 or Map 2 plates and is compatible with most Arri accessories.
I'm not sure I like hearing the words vertical video come from you, so what's your thought?
I'm an old school filmmaker, and I suspect you are too. And we grew up on the heady days of the 80s where widescreens became the norm, and moving to a vertical-based aspect ratio is a bit unsettling. But the fact is that most millennials and younger consumers take their content on their mobile devices, and vertical video is the hot trend right now thanks to both Instagram and Snapchat social media. So it makes sense that Arri would want to give creatives as a tool for that purpose. But I'm telling you right now, if Disney releases Star Wars The Skinny Edition, I'm out of here.
I just want you to know I grew up in the age of 4x3, youngster, so this newfangled widescreen, I'm not sure it's going to work out. So vertical video is great for rockets, and that's the story from Arri. What's our second story?
Well, Panasonic is launching a brand new resource for free for VariCam and EVA1 cinema camera users. This new online resource by Panasonic offers a comprehensive collection of over 100 LUTs and other settings to load into your VariCam cinema camera or apply to your EVA1 footage in post-production. There are 3 formats of LUTs for users to download for free: the .vlt for loading into your VariCam cameras directly, E-E.cube for color grading, and then the E-L.cube for use with your standard LUT box. And plus, Panasonic is also publishing Barry Green's seminal guide to the EVA1, which comes with a series of video tutorials to familiarize cameramen with the latest flagship cinema camera.
So what's the significance of this free library to the wider market?
Well, Larry, shooters are now treating cinema cameras like film emulsion, switching between platforms to get a set look. So that means that renting becomes more often the norm rather than owning. And Panasonic is doing us all a service by not only educating us on how to use the new EVA1, but to give us great tools for color grading in both the VariCam platform and the EVA1 cinema camera as well.
Okay, that's our second story. What's number 3?
Well, LumaFusion is adding support for wireless Western Digital hard drives. LumaFusion is a video editing app for your iPad that brings your workflow to mobile filmmaking so that you can start doing assembly edits right there on set. And adding wireless digital support just makes it a heck of a lot easier to get your footage onto the iPad. With this new Western Digital hard drive support, you'll be able to browse and trim media clips within LumaFusion directly from the Western Digital wireless and My Passport hard drives. You'll be able to preview and show the footage off to your cast and crew without waiting for download, and you can import directly into your LumaFusion timeline.
So the LumaFusion on our iPad is communicating via Wi-Fi to a hard disk which is nearby.
Yes.
James, what's the benefit of this?
Well, the benefit here is eliminating the middleman. Apple has been pushing this post-PC era where we can do just about anything on an iPad. And as the platform matures and gets more powerful, doing basic assembly editing of video footage while you're still on the set will save a huge amount of time. LumaFusion is already doing this through integrating with the NARBox system, and expanding to Western Digital's wireless hard drive line is a great new feature.
Interesting. James, what other stories are you following this week?
We continue our tutorial series on editing with Blackmagic's DaVinci Resolve. There's a new service called Panic Lobster, which will help you refine your studio pitch using virtual reality. And there's a cool new product on Kickstarter which mounts a monopod to your waist for better stability, and it's pretty slick. That's what we're working on. What's tonight's show about?
Tonight, we're looking at the intersection of technology and education, both in the classroom and in the job market.
Technology is changing everything these days, so it sounds like it's going to be a good show.
It will be a good show. We've got a wide range of guests, from SMPTE to the university education to middle school and high schoolers. I'm looking forward to chatting with all of our guests. But before we get into education, I also have a special report about a new office for filmmakers that Adobe just opened in Santa Monica last week. I'll cover that next. In the meantime, where can people go to follow the stories that you're covering this week?
All these stories and more can be found at DoddleNEWS.com.
And James DeRuvo is the editor-in-chief of DoddleNEWS and joins us every week. We'll see you next Thursday.
See you next Thursday.
Hi, this is Larry Jordan, and I'm down in Santa Monica at a brand new office building, which Adobe just opened specifically for the professional creative. And to help explain where we are and what we're doing, I'm talking with Bedient. He's the head of strategic development for professional video and audio based out of Los Angeles for Adobe. Van, welcome back. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Larry. Very happy to be here.
So tell me about this new facility. Where are we and what's it for?
So we are in the heart of Santa Monica, and we're very excited about this new office that we've opened here. It's got a state-of-the-art edit suite that we've just installed, and our presence here in Santa Monica is just really a product of our commitment to television and film industry, wanting to be close to our customers, wanting to do both outreach to the community, working with training, working with key customers, helping improve our products, and also bringing customers in, making our office available to them to talk about workflow, features, demonstrations, training, whatever it might be.
Well, there's a ton of post-production houses all over LA. Why open a new rental facility?
It's actually not a rental facility, so we don't offer any services here as far as edit suites for rent or technical support service desks. This is basically our Hollywood engagement community, so it's more or less of an invite only, but it's not to say that it's exclusive in that way. We work with a lot of great film and television customers here in Los Angeles that have a lot of questions and want to make sure that they get exposed to what the latest features are, what we're currently working on. Maybe they have some workflow questions or need tips and tricks. So it's great to have the office here where we can work closely with customers one-on-one or in groups and just make sure that we're engaging with the community.
Well, one of the challenges filmmakers have is trying to get support. Adobe support has had problems in the past, and especially for professional filmmakers, trying to be able to get answers when they're on deadline is sometimes difficult. How can they take advantage of the facility you're building here?
I think that there's kind of a couple ways that we're approaching support. I don't know that there's always one answer to it. So everything to certainly help with the scale of customers that we have. We're doing a lot of professional tutorials, like things on YouTube. We're doing a lot of free training with the guilds, making sure that we're out engaging with them. We do have local engineers and quality engineers, developers here in the area, so we can meet with customers or go visit customers when needed, when they're having issues. And we're certainly working to make sure that we build up the online community, the forums, and all the other support methods, just to make sure that we have every base covered. Want to get people answers as quickly as possible and make sure they're staying productive with our products.
With this facility, you say it's by invitation only. Is this something that you're using to research how people are using the product, or is it something where I'm on deadline, I've got a feature film, and it's just not outputting, how can I get help?
Yes. It is meant to be all of those things. We want our customers to be successful with our products. We want them to have a great experience with our products. If having a presence here and having local resources to help support people enhances their success with our products, then absolutely it's worth every bit of investment. We're excited to have this place here and just be entrenched in the community.
So if I'm a filmmaker and I've got a problem, how do I wave my hand and say, hey, I'm here, I need help?
That's a good question. We typically take on what we do call sort of formal engagements. So a lot of the high-profile shows or feature films that you might have seen Adobe promote that have been done on Adobe tools are kind of formal engagements that our team will take on. There isn't really an application process for that. It's just typically we get in touch with people through a lot of different mechanisms, through relationships that we have, through introductions, through other filmmakers and television producers that are using our tools that introduce us to friends that are interested. So it seems to happen fairly naturally or organically. As far as reaching Adobe, the best methods are still our forums and our support lines. We monitor those very closely. There's just such an emphasis right now on improving the quality of our products that we're really trying to make sure we're doubling down and interacting with customers in whatever way that needs to be. And with such a diverse range of customers spread all over the globe, obviously we want to make sure that we can do that at scale.
I'm standing in the middle of this room, and seeing as this is radio, people can't see what I'm seeing. Describe what the facility looks like. What do you have? You have a really great edit suite, but there's much more here than just a single edit suite.
We've got a really first-class edit suite, which we're very proud of. We have some systems set up for our developers and quality engineers to do testing. And for more general business, we have our field team, our strategic development team based here. We use a lot of the conference rooms for meeting with customers. We have a nice open floor plan and open space to interact with each other as well as guests that are visiting. And it's just a space we're trying to make very welcoming for any customers that come visit and very productive for employees that are working here.
Why'd you pick Santa Monica, of all the places in LA, to put an office?
Well, there are definitely worse places that we could have an office. So we enjoy the wonderful city of Santa Monica, and to me, just this area is kind of synonymous with art and artists. So it's great to be in the heart of that. We have so many customers that are centered around the west side, whether it's right here in Santa Monica or Culver City or West LA. This felt like it was just a prime location to make sure that we can be kind of in the heart of everything that's going on, and easy access to Hollywood and the valleys as well.
If there's one takeaway you want filmmakers to remember from this new facility that you're opening up, sort of like the whole reason behind doing it, what would that be?
It's really having the presence here is showing that we're truly committed to this market. We have an outstanding staff that serves this local office where we've hired people, and we have 2 Academy Award winners on our team. We have some assistant editors, working assistant editors that we've hired. It's really about the team that we've built and making sure that everyone understands how committed we are to success in this market, to growth in this market, to finding ways to improve productivity and keep people on the creative tasks.
And for people that want more information about the products that Adobe offers, where can they go on the web?
Adobe.com is always the best place to go. We do have a lot of links on our video pages to specific tutorials, to YouTube channels, to information about all our products, as well as contact information for Adobe.
That website is one you know by heart, adobe.com, adobe.com, and Van Bedient is the head of strategic development for professional video and audio. For Adobe, Van, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Larry. It's truly been a pleasure.
Here's another website I want to introduce you to, DoddleNEWS.com. DoddleNEWS gives you a portal into the broadcast, video, and film industries. It's a leading online resource presenting news, reviews, and products for the film and video industry. DoddleNEWS also offers a resource guide and crew management platform specifically designed for production. These digital call sheets, along with their app, directory, and premium listings, provide in-depth organizational tools for busy production professionals. DoddleNEWS is a part of the Thalo Arts community, a worldwide community of artists, filmmakers, and storytellers. From photography to filmmaking, performing arts to fine arts, and everything in between, Thalo is filled with resources you need to succeed. Whether you want the latest industry news, need to network with other creative professionals, or require state-of-the-art online tools to manage your next project, there's only one place to go, DoddleNEWS.com. Brian Gaffney manages global sales and marketing for Codex. Codex is the OEM supplier of digital recorders for cinematic cameras from Arri and Canon, Panasonic, and IMAX. But more importantly, from the perspective of education, he is also the Hollywood section manager for SMPTE. Hello, Brian. Welcome.
Hello, Larry. Thanks for having me today.
Brian, tonight we're talking about technology and education, so take your Codex hat and put that off and put your SMPTE hat on, because I want to understand better, what's your role with SMPTE?
My role with SMPTE as a section manager is really to help twofold: build our membership base and communicate the value of SMPTE to our 1,200 plus members. At the same time, it's also to bring my experiences and my education to the team, so that when we plan out through our monthly meetings, what's a compelling message to bring about to the community to talk about careers and opportunities. They're leveraging my current experiences and my connections to bring some of these ideas to the table. For instance, we just recently did an event on esports that I managed and worked along in conjunction with Marty Meyer, one of our past chairmen of SMPTE, to bring together, I think, a compelling story about a career arc that's emerging in our space that combines both all of our broadcast knowledge and skills combined with this gaming world and game engines to an audience base now of like 400 to 500 million people. So that's really what I'm trying to do with SMPTE, is keep it moving forward, extend our 100 years, but also bring in new talent, new minds, and new creativity to the group.
Okay, well, I want to talk about your career day in just a minute, but SMPTE is focused on creating standards for the industry. Why are they interested also in education?
What are those future standards? We can't sit in a box and continuously discuss the values of Rec 709 versus, Rec 2020. We also need people coming in saying, hey, on my last movie, I used a game engine technology. How does that now apply when it's running through an IP process combined with the sort of standard broadcast SDI world? So we have an emerging file-based computer-like technology overtaking our traditional film and broadcast tools. So we need the future math and science and engineering skills that are in high demand across our industry to have new minds come into that. So for us, we have to not only set standards, we have to build our community and educate our community, because without that community, there would be no SMPTE.
This speaks to an interview that we had in last week's show where we were talking about Rec 2110, which is the rec that converts broadcasters from a SDI architecture to an IP architecture. Does that mean that your career days really are focused on engineers, or are you looking at students to get them interested in engineering?
It's a combination of both. Through our monthly meetings, the existing members are looking to make sure that they're current in their education, to sustain their own careers. Some people are coming to the end of their technology curve, and now they need to reimagine what their next 10 or 15 years are like. And so they're coming to SMPTE to find out what they need to learn about. It's not just the young students, but it's also the existing, people in our community. So we want to excite both the young engineers and the technically minded students out there about careers in the media and entertainment industry. That's one of our goals throughout the process of our SMPTE monthly meetings and trying to build members. But we also want to make sure that our existing member base is aware of what's changing, what's happening, so that they can also plan for that change in the future.
Well, you've already mentioned that there is the intersection of traditional television, the SDI world, with the IP world, plus the game world. What other cross-pollination are you seeing that SMPTE is paying attention to in its classes and its seminars?
We're looking at everything from AI and VR and what's happening in that space. We've looked at everything from security standards and what's happening now as we move into this IP-based world and we pass along properties or content, which is the products that we make in this side of things, this world, needs to be protected. So we talk about what are the career opportunities in that. We looked at everything recently from a big study on the whole ATSC 3.0 IP transition. We've been looking at esports, just the evolution of where we're seeing media and entertainment is coming across the board, from our mobile devices to our homes to our theaters. We're seeing HDR evolution evolving from our standards over the last 100 years of how we have looked at images in theaters and in the home. So SMPTE is always talking about the exciting things that are happening. It's not just to talk about what's cool and what's new, but every meeting has a focus on how do we educate people in this process and how do we help them understand the opportunities that may evolve out of these new career changes and these new opportunities that are coming in. We have this, as I mentioned, crossover happening of, Silicon Valley coming into the Hollywood world. And what used to be our studio leading industry partners like Disney and Warner Brothers and Paramount and Sony have now evolved into Netflix and Amazon and Hulu. So we're really seeing, this cottage industry start to evolve a bit, but we need to bring more people into it. We just don't have enough people to actually do these jobs. Not every broadcaster can become, a programmer.
There's been a lot of talk recently that with all of the changes in our industry and the budget pressures that are driving budgets lower, that this is becoming an increasingly difficult to find consistent work in. Does it make sense to attract people into the industry when so many people in the industry are having a hard time putting food on the table?
I see that in some cases. There has been a transition from our post-production world, our visual effects world. I've seen people, raise their career, their incomes go up, their pay scales and their responsibilities go up, and then all of a sudden the industry changes or it moves away. Those people have either had to follow that industry or re-educate themselves. So again, this is the value of SMPTE and its membership. As we talk about these transitions, we don't just talk about what's new, we talk about the past and where it's going, so that as you're sitting there and you're starting to see this transition change, you can make a change alongside of it. I would certainly say it's not that there's a lack of jobs here, it's just that they're changing. One of our meetings on the ATSC 3.0 broadcasting, we had in a small cable broadcast news station, that's up in Bakersfield. And, their average rate of pays are consistent with, the market and what, say, a tape op or somebody would be doing in a facility like this. Now, they're needing to hire people that cost, 3 times what they were paying employees because the skill set has changed. However, their revenues don't quite justify it. So there are some challenges, and there are things that are transitioning, but in the same time, quite a few new jobs are opening up that didn't exist before in, photometric, photography. And we're now going into this VR and AI evolution. So if I were a Chiron operator of old, I might want to start looking at AI and new graphics design technology because, that may be a specific need now. How do I display these sports graphics, in an esports kind of display world?
It sounds to me like SMPTE's key focus is not just education, but continual, ongoing re-education. Would that be a true statement?
That would be a totally true statement, and it's how we see the growth of the organization continuing, and it's how we see the evolution of ideas and standards evolving. It's a continuous evolution of this industry. That's how we made it over 100 years and how we hope to make another 100 years on a global basis of educating, empowering, and understanding the technology, helping to vet it, standardize it, and bring new people in to help find the next standards that are coming and are going to be required.
Brian, does SMPTE have student memberships?
It certainly does, and it's actually one of the best ways to come into the organization. We have various levels of membership, but the best one for a student is that it's free. We actually are going to be raising our rates here shortly, but the rate for a student membership will be $10. The value for that $10 not only gets you to the monthly meetings and online streaming services, but it also gets you access to the journal. But to me, the biggest access is the connection to the community. It's the networking with somebody and finding a mentor during one of these meetings. And that relationship, might help you get in the door on your next job, and then while you're in that door, it's your skills that'll ensure that you thrive once you're in the room. And I think that's the goal and the motto of SMPTE.
For people that want more information, where can they go on the web to learn about SMPTE?
It's SMPTE.org, SMPTE.org/Hollywood. We also have SMPTE.org/join if you'd like to become a member.
That's all one word, SMPTE.org, not .com, .org/Hollywood or /join. And Brian Gaffney, in addition to his global sales and marketing work at Codex, is the Hollywood section manager for SMPTE. And Brian, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Larry. I really appreciated your time.
Patrick Dent is an associate professor and the assistant dean of curriculum for the USC Iovine and Young Academy. He previously taught for 15 years at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering, including classes in new media, web development, database, and programming. Hello, Patrick. Welcome.
Welcome, Larry.
How would you describe the Iovine and Young Academy at USC?
Our founders created the school to try to create an educational approach that I often call interdisciplinary, although my dean often likes to call non-disciplinary. The idea was that our founders, Jimmy Iovine and Andre Young, felt that their success as entrepreneurs was due to the fact that they had multiple backgrounds, some in art or music, but also some business and some engineering experience. And they felt that part of why they're successful with Beats Electronics, let alone their earlier endeavors, was because they understood more than one discipline, and they weren't just kind of stuck in one area. when they looked around, there weren't really any universities, particularly at the undergraduate level, that took that approach. You might see, for instance, a joint degree that's half engineering and half, say, business, but it would really just be 50% engineering classes and 50% business classes, not this philosophy of training young minds that have feet in all the disciplines, so that you would simultaneously look at business or entrepreneur concerns, engineering and technology, coding, with an eye toward design, and you have a curriculum that integrates all of those things. And so we're hoping to create kind of a new generation of entrepreneurs who are less domain biased.
So what's your role with the Academy?
So it's my job to keep an eye on the classes and the underlying theory and make sure that we're constantly keeping up to date. We believe that as a program, we should be as agile as the students that we're training. And our dean often likes to describe us as an educational startup. And so we want to have that really innovative, agile perspective to the curriculum, our classes, as well as to our overall degrees.
One of the things that we're looking at in tonight's show is the intersection of technology with education. What role does technology play within the Academy? Are you teaching technology, or are you using technology to teach?
We view technology as a means to an end, right? So from an educational perspective, that may be what is the best way to teach a class. Everything from video casting to interactive 3D or AR. Of course, we also view from the student perspective, technology as a means to an end as well. And so, we wouldn't have students learn 3D printing just for the sake of 3D printing, but because they need to create prototypes of a product they want to model. And so from an educational perspective, we try to have the same idea. What do I need to most effectively teach this particular material for this particular class? And that could be anywhere from AV solutions to cloud serving languages to AR.
Academy students have lived with technology all their lives. In fact, that's true of all university students. Does this saturation with technology make them easier or harder to teach?
It really makes them easier to teach. They already have an inherent understanding of technology that people of older generations like myself had to kind of pick up, right? They've been raised in a more technology encompassing environment. They also, we've learned a little bit differently. They're much more multitasking inherently than others are. So for instance, we found as a student that they can absorb more knowledge and from many more different directions at once compared to older generations of students. So we've also tried to kind of adjust our teaching style and the contents of our classes accordingly.
Do you find them to be better at multitasking, or are they just more distracted?
I certainly would say distraction is always an issue. Anytime you allow a student to have a laptop out during a lecture, even if it's for a legitimate reason, for instance, live coding, it can open up a Pandora's box. But we do find that they truly can synthesize more than one stream at once. And so assuming that they're keeping all their attention on the education and not allowing other types of content in, we truly believe that they can multitask differently and not just be distracted.
You teach both in the classroom and online. How would you describe the differences between the two of them from an educational point of view?
I think the biggest difference is that online creates new challenges because obviously we don't have the in-person bonding and connection with students. Even if you have a video window, it's not quite the same. And so what we found is that online is a unique challenge, and you have to strive to overcome that artificial distance. I mean, it's literally a geographic distance, but it's also a media separation, kind of a pulling back. And so we tried to figure out ways that technology can make that online experience more interactive, the ways that the platform can enhance the learning as opposed to distracting from the learning. And we've also, over time, learned to pick up some tips and techniques from the online environment, things we've had to do because of the platform, and actually found, this is something we could actually bring into the live classroom as well.
One challenge for teaching, especially teaching online, is that students are exposed through all the different online activities to excellent communicators. How does that change your standards for instructors?
It certainly increases the stress on instructors to be more engaged. We can't just kind of rely on the good bonding in person from a talking head. that you might in the classroom by your sheer force of personality be able to connect and convey the material. And so we find that our instructors actually need to be very technically literate, to be comfortable with the platform, to know, for instance, when's a bad situation to just do slide decks or to just be a talking head, and to figure out how lessons can be more interactive and how their conveying of material can engage students more inherently, as opposed to kind of the old, stodgy, static lecture model of you talk and they sit back and listen.
Given that we're all, whether students, faculty, or just general citizens, awash in technology, what do you see the role of technology in education if you look forward just a few years?
I'd like to think that technology will start to enable unique experiences that didn't exist in the past. Some of this are things that we're looking at because of the nature of online learning. But for instance, the idea of a live AR critique of a product where all these students are able to manipulate an object in a virtual space and point to things that everyone is seeing, move the object, kind of share a live critique, and including being able to potentially bring in other media assets so that it's not only trying to simulate a live critique environment from a traditional design or art school, but actually bring in additional elements that wouldn't be possible in a live environment. Being a traditional teacher, done this for about 20 years, I certainly prefer the live environment, but we're trying to see what are some opportunities where technology can actually deepen the learning and education experience.
One last question before I let you go. How do you break down technology's feeling of isolation, where everybody is living in their own bubble, but they're not reaching out and actually meeting in person other people? Do you think that's a problem, or is it overstated?
I think it's definitely a problem. I think it's part of the reason why it's important to have more collaborative and group projects and assignments and activities, so that you force them to interact more, to break down that typical one teacher talking to 30 or 40 students, to make more interactive lesson plans, to often send them away to breakout rooms to do small activities and bring them back and debrief. I definitely think that trying to recreate the live experience, including the social bonding experience of students to each other, is a challenge and something that has to definitely be addressed in online learning.
Patrick, for people that want more information about the Iovine and Young Academy or the classes that you offer, where can they go on the web to learn more?
So they can go to our school and academy's website at iovine, iovine-young.usc.edu.
That's all one long phrase, iovine-young.usc.edu. And Patrick Dent is the Assistant Dean of Curriculum for the USC Iovine and Young Academy. And Patrick, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on.
I want to introduce you to a new website, Thalo.com. Thalo is an artist community and networking site for creative people to connect, be inspired, and showcase their creativity. Thalo.com features content from around the world with a global perspective on all things creative. Thalo is the place for creative folks to learn, collaborate, market, and sell their works. Thalo is a part of Thalo Arts, a worldwide community of artists, filmmakers, and storytellers. From photography to filmmaking, performing arts to fine arts, and everything in between, Thalo is filled with the resources you need to succeed. Visit Thalo.com and discover how their community can help you connect, learn, and succeed. That's Thalo.com. Dr. Holly Ludgate has worked in education, instructional design, technology, and online learning for the past 16 years. She's launched the online Education Media Design and Technology Master's Degree program online and is currently the Director of Learning for Full Sail Labs, which is a K-12 campus and online initiative focused on storytelling, art, and technology. Hello, Holly, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm very interested in your opinions on the subject, which is technology and education. How would you describe, let's start with the big picture, how would you describe Full Sail University, and where does Full Sail Labs fit in?
Great question. So Full Sail University is an entertainment media university out of Winter Park, Florida, very close to Orlando. And it has been around about 40 years and serves the community of filmmaking, gaming, music, entertainment business, pretty much anything to do with entertainment and media. We probably offer it. We've got 40 plus degree programs at our university. And about 3.5 years ago, we looked around and said, how can we serve other communities? Because we have so many students that come onto our campus from middle school and high school, and they are so excited and ready to get their journey started with us, but there's really nowhere for them to go until they become a freshman. And so we decided to start what's called Full Sail Labs, which is our youth initiative touching on ages 7 to 17. So we offer a lot of the same similar topics that the university offers, but for a younger audience to start sparking their passion and getting them excited.
Well, tonight we're looking at technology and education. Are you using technology to teach, or are you teaching technology?
There is definitely a difference, isn't there? We actually do use technology to teach, but we don't let it get in the way. We really want the technology to be transparent, and they choose that appropriate tool to deliver whatever that may be. So if they're making a game, they may be using a MacBook Pro or any type of laptop to actually build the game. Or if they're working with robots, it could be that they're using a tablet to be able to program it. So it really just does depend, but we don't sit there and do a direct instruction on all of this software. It may be that they need a little bit of it to keep going on their path of getting to where they want to get to their end goal. But we really want to create these storytellers, and they get to choose that tool that they want to use to tell their story, whether it's a film or a game or a piece of music, etc.
Well, as someone who teaches technology to older students, adults in fact, you can't just expect a student to learn a software tool as complex as Photoshop or Premiere or Final Cut on their own. You have to provide some guidance, or you're just throwing them in the deep end and expecting them to swim.
That is absolutely true. And so we do provide facilitators that are very knowledgeable, specifically around what they're learning. So if we're having a gaming course, for example, it could be that they're using the Unreal Engine to build their game. So we will have somebody that has created games with Unreal who potentially could have been or still is a university professor at Full Sail, and they'll come over and they'll work with those students. But we don't want to get them so heavily focused on that aspect of knowing that tool inside and out that they lose the fun and that piece that they get to have their voice heard with whatever they're trying to do. But you're absolutely right. We have to make sure that we are providing them enough resources to be able to get to where they want to go.
Your group provides both in-class and online education. What do you see as the difference from a student's point of view between face-to-face in the classroom learning and online learning?
So what I have noticed is when we look at face-to-face, we have a very curated curriculum where we have somebody that is working alongside them. We have a lot of group work and projects that are happening throughout this entire experience. We have them typically coming in weekly, or we've got them for an entire weekend of summer camp. And that experience is very different from online. So we also are dealing with a group now who says, Alexa, tell me X. And they have the answer. There's that instant gratification. So we have to use a lot of instructional design principles in developing online content because they're so used to finding that answer on YouTube immediately. So we chunk out our information in really short bites. So our courses may teach just one concept instead of digging into 10 or 12 concepts. It could be how to put this cup in the game, or how to use this one specific filter in GarageBand. We do that instead of trying to overload them with too much information. So we really do chunk it a lot more, we chunk it just a lot more online than we do face-to-face because we just have a lot more opportunity face-to-face to be able to naturally chunk it for the individual and exactly what they need.
One of the knocks against technology is that it tends to make students more distracted. Others say students are better at multitasking. What's your thought?
That's a great question. Well, I see that we'll have students who will be on their device, whatever they're using, if it's a laptop, let's say, and they'll also have their phone out and they'll be wanting to do that. But you do see that disconnect. I really think that even though we see them with a lot of different things going on, lots of different devices connecting them, I don't really see them fully immersed in one. They're just being pulled in so many different directions that we only get 20, 30% of their attention at any one given time. So we really try to encourage them. We don't want to say no technology or no phones when we're working with you one-on-one, but we want you to really focus on the task at hand. And so part of that is to making sure we're creating an engaging learning environment enough that you don't want to pull out your phone and, see who's texting you or make a phone call or whatever. So we try to keep that in mind too. I think that some of it just is in relation to engagement.
I do tell my students that I will take their phones away if they use them in class, and it's like I've insulted their mother.
I know. Absolutely. It's a second appendage. So
the students that you're dealing with are going through standard middle school and high school. Are they going to high school or middle school and then coming to your location for additional training, or do you replace traditional high schools and middle schools?
This is something standalone. So this is not in place of any type of coursework that they would need to get graduation credit or anything like that. This is actually something that they do on their own. So we find very passion driven. From the ages of 7 to 12, we actually say we want to tap into your creativity and let you be that explorer. But once we hit the 13 to 17 range, we say, okay, let's now strengthen that passion and help you dive even deeper into that. So it's really kind of them honing in at that age too. So it is separate, but they just get really excited about that learning, which is wonderful to see.
What are your main goals for the courses?
It's actually something that's not even about technology or the output of what they're creating. We really want to focus on creating awesome people. A lot of times in schools, they get so hammered with get this outcome, take this test, standardization, blah, blah, blah. We want to make really great people that you want to be around. So we celebrate failure. We encourage them to help out others. And all of those soft skills that I think get so lost in that K-12 environment, we really try to work on. And we certainly infuse all of the different things we're teaching them as well. But at the end of the day, if we can have people walk away as awesome human beings, we've done our job.
Looking at it as someone who teaches adults who are trying to make a living in storytelling and art and technology, these are really challenging times from a business point of view for someone who wants to earn a living, as opposed to simply contribute a free video to YouTube. How do you help these kids set expectations where they are not going to be the next YouTube star, where they're not necessarily going to be able to make a living as a filmmaker because there's just too much competition? How do you balance the enthusiasm with the reality?
That is something that, interestingly, we don't see coming in. They don't necessarily realize that, because when they look at these YouTube stars, it's immediate. Well, yeah, 40% in a Pew study said, I want to be a YouTube star, which I couldn't even fathom years ago, even when I was growing up, saying that, more than a doctor and a lawyer and a teacher. So we've taught actually YouTube creator courses where we teach them about the monetization piece and all the different things that have to happen. And so we try to set the reality of, yes, you can be a big star, but you may earn pennies on the dollar. And when it comes to the creative arts, we want to encourage them to really shine through and let their passion and their creativity shine through, but they're going to have to work really hard to set themselves apart. So we encourage them also to make sure that they're not just focusing on that, just on one specific thing. They need to also be tending to their schooling that they're doing too. They can't, completely fail at everything else and just come to us and think that everything's going to be rosy. So we try to bring experts in from the field to talk to them as well and give them the reality of, here's what you really need to work on if you're serious about this.
Holly, for people who want more information about Full Sail Labs, where can they go on the web?
You can go to fullsaillabs.com and check us out and see what great things we're doing.
That website is all one word, full, S-A-I-L, fullsaillabs.com. And Dr. Holly Ludgate is the head of that whole program. And Holly, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You know, I was just thinking, I've been involved with technology all my life. Even when I was working in marketing, I was marketing software and explaining the latest technology to new users. There's no doubt we're living in an age driven by technology. When I look around my classroom, I can see how hard it is for my students to put down their cell phones and actually listen to what's going on. Or I watch people at a restaurant spend more time taking photos of their food than eating the food. Or I watch people walking down the street paying more attention to their cell phones than the scenery around them. It is obvious that technology is driving our lives. As filmmakers, we use technology every day to create the stories we want to share with an audience. Equally, though, we're frustrated when that audience is too busy to pay attention to the stories that we're telling, to say nothing of the attention spans that are now measured in seconds or our need for constant distraction and stimulation. These are all examples of the law of unintended consequences. We may not have planned for this to happen, but that's the way it turned out. What I find especially frustrating, especially when teaching college students, is how hard it is to get their attention. There are so many distractions today that they've become extremely good at tuning out whatever is not distracting them at that moment. Our audiences are the same. As communicators, we have to work extra hard just to get their attention, whether for a commercial, a program, or an emergency announcement. And once we have their attention, it's almost impossible to retain it. Look at the number of times you yourself are watching TV and reading your phone and checking your computer all at the same time and not paying full attention to any of them. We live in an age of distraction, and from all the signs, it's only going to get worse. And this makes the process of education even more difficult. Just something I'm thinking about. I want to thank our guests this week, Van Bedient with Adobe, Brian Gaffney with SMPTE, Patrick Dent with USC, Dr. Holly Ludgate with Full Sail University, and James DeRuvo with DoddleNEWS. There's a lot of history in our industry, and it's all posted to our website at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Here you'll find thousands of interviews, all online and all available to you today. And remember to sign up for our free weekly show newsletter that comes out every Saturday morning. Talk with us on Twitter at DPBuzz and Facebook at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Our theme music is composed by Nathan Doogie Turner with additional music provided by smartsound.com. Our producer is Debbie Price. My name is Larry Jordan, and thanks for listening to the Digital Production Buzz. The Digital Production Buzz is copyright 2018 by Thalo LLC.